With Godzilla finally hitting Netflix, topping the charts, and making history by winning an Oscar in America, I think my time has finally come. Let's celebrate Big G's 70th anniversary in the best way I can offer, in critical, autistic detail. Super brief overview. Gojira has been a staple of Japanese cinema, from being the embodiment of the Lucky Dragon disaster, capitalism's dangerous encroaching influence on TV, pollution, a natural emergency, the bitter resentment of deceased Japanese World War II soldiers, and even a nuclear deterrent. What ground is there even left? How can you continue Gojira's legacy? Godzilla Minus One is the perfect response. Shin Godzilla was already a near-perfect modernization. I had never felt fear from any Godzilla until Kamata-kun wriggled around with those soulless, dead fish eyes. Shinagawa-kun is then not scary, but horrifying, raw and very visceral. Then, Kamata Kura-san is just awe-inspiring, a realized god incarnate. Shin was a response to the 2011 Fukushima incident.
This disaster, known as the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster, is the only other nuclear accident besides Chernobyl to be rated as a 7, the highest on the international nuclear event scale. And the Japanese government was integral in making sure it reached that 7.
In America's 2014 movie, it ruled the Japanese charts and won a ton of awards. It was written and directed by an anime legend, Hideki Anno. Do you see why a new movie following all that seems a bit daunting? But then, July 11th, we witnessed Minus One's teaser. Written, directed, and VFX vision head Takashi Yamazaki. It shows us an incredibly emotional story in the aftermath of World War II's Japan. The nukes have dropped. That's almost a side note. Instead, we see an utterly decimated Tokyo after the fire bombings. Part of me thinks it's an homage to Grave of the Fireflies. Japan's surrender came a mass de-arming. To this day, Japan is still defamed by the United States. Yamaguchi isn't kidding about being a puppet for any future presidents in America. And so, our protagonist, Koichi Shikishima, abandons his duty as a kamikaze pilot and fakes a malfunction. A mechanic even backs him up. What's wrong with wanting to live? That night, Gojira appears. In the novelization, going off online translations and interpretations, the native people of Odo Island had a symbiotic relationship. The villagers gave Gojira offerings, treating him as a deity. And in return, Gojira caused deep-sea fish to float to the surface as an easy food source for them. This mutual respect for their shared home kept them safe until the Emperor sent the garrison with the war. So these guys are trespassing and have fucked with the people under his protection. Gojira, however, is gracious. He gives the soldiers a chance to worship him, give him a gift, but humans aren't always rational when scared, so they attack Gojira and piss him off. Koichi survives with an assload of PTSD and survivor's guilt. His parents in Tokyo are dead. His lifelong neighbor hates him for being alive. The only other survivor from Odo Island, Sosaku Tachibana, also gives him the pictures and letters from the deceased. Yet, Koichi meets Noriko and Akiko, and in a span of several years, they become a family. Koichi works with fellow vets Kenji Noda and Yoji Akitsu on the Shinsei Maru, and an ambitious guy, Shiro Mazushima, who also feels he needs to prove himself. Koichi now has a life, but trauma isn't healed by finding a partner or friends. He and Noriko remain just that, friends, and he keeps her and Akiko at arm's length. He feels unworthy of their genuine affection, unworthy to be alive and breathing. So, Noriko takes a job in Ginza, only for the Bro Squad to encounter a fully radiated Gojira. They set off a mine in his mouth. The Takao warship, I believe it's what it is, has a direct point-blank shot to his chest. Gojira regenerates in seconds. And as if to purposely fuck with Koichi specifically, Gojira comes to Ginza. Even as a fucking mess, he takes a moment to play with his favorite toy, trains. Unfortunately, Noriko is, of course, in said train. And this is when it begins clicking. Noriko told Koichi she knows she must survive. And here comes a colossal being, a god, or the closest thing possible to test her resolve. Her and all the surviving civilians in Ginza. This is what Gojira's true purpose is, a test, a way to have a future for Japan, but only if the people really, truly deserve one. But Koichi, a coward and then unable to face the future, isn't just allowed to die and run away again. Not that easily. It's once Koichi has made a choice that Gojira stops toying with him. The citizens face him with their full chest, unflinching. As it always seems, the sea sides with her people, nearly swallowing Gojira. And then Koichi comes in, now resolved to have a life, a future, a family. Gojira, an eldritch nightmare, isn't capable of withstanding Japan, or rather, Koichi's resolve. Neither could he extinguish Noriko's drive to continue living, but he can potentially latch onto it, using her to keep himself alive. I once saw a fan theory about Shin Gojira, that Dr. Maki had witnessed more than just his wife being overtaken by radiation poisoning. She became the new universe's Gojira. Screaming in agony as her blood boils her innards, wretched through millions of years of evolution in mere seconds. It's a haunting theory, and just as Yamazaki-san explained, -1 swings completely in the opposite direction. Now, Gojira parasites himself to a person, then a person forced onto Gojira.
You know, guys, it just dawned on me how weird this film is, you know?
Yeah,
It's
really.
just kind of goofy.
Final thoughts. First, this Gojira is so damn petty. Him getting annoyed at the Shinden and locking on, the atomic breath scene, being practically frozen yet still going for the most brutal kill shot. A goddamn menace. Second, every character is so genuine and real. Personal fave is Dr. Noda. Genuinely, Genius nearly had Goji down to plan A. Also, he has my single favorite line in the movie. Lastly, this timeline is surreal. At age 7, I would watch my dad's VHS tapes of dubbed Godzilla movies. My nickname was picked from them. To see more people enjoying this franchise, it makes me so happy. My nibblings and I bond over it. Without Gojira's presence in my life, I wouldn't be me.